to Get Real with Asil, a woman empowerment podcast hosted by Asil Al-Baba. Hello and welcome to another episode of Get Real with Asil. Today is Monday, September 17th, 2018. So if you look at the last episode I recorded, I don't even remember the date, but it's probably about a month ago. And if you've ever listened to any episode I've ever recorded, I always mentioned how this was a really passionate project that I would do to share self-development hacks that I come across to add value to your lives, and also to share a personal perspective of how I apply these particular things that I learn about, or just what it means to me to come across all these different things that I end up sharing. So a lot of my podcast has self-development hacks, but also storytelling amongst things that are meant to add value to the listeners. So I used to do it originally when I first started, 3 episodes a week. And then I realized that that was way too much. It's a lot of work. And basically I thought, okay, maybe I should do it once a week. And once I did the once a week frequency, I committed to it for a whole year. I was on top of my game, sharing different hacks every week, sharing different books I'm reading, and all sorts of different things that I really enjoyed, along with interviews I made with really interesting people that shared a thing or two about their own journey. And what I realized that for the past month, I haven't recorded anything, and this has never happened to me before. And I honestly was reflecting on it, like what exactly happened here. It's like I reached my peak as far as my excitement is concerned about producing this podcast, and then it kind of just faded for a little bit there, and I wasn't sure what exactly contributed to it. And there's different theories that happen in my mind, partially because I wonder, is anybody listening to this thing anyway? So there's a lot of self-doubt that I come sometimes across. And even though I share tips about overcoming your self-doubt, overcoming that little voice inside of your head, and just tapping into your greatness so that you can produce the best out of you and just challenge yourself to keep on going. And even though I share these particular principles, I personally sometimes slip, which means there's no such thing as being perfect. And I really just wanted this episode to be a raw thing that I just talk about on top of my head, and just talk about that journey for me. Because consistency and persistency are so key in anyone's achievements. And I didn't want to stop doing something I absolutely love just because there's negative voices in my head. And I'm thinking a part of it could also be laziness. So I don't always want to say, sugarcoat things. Like, I really want to be upfront with myself and face myself when I'm experiencing any sort of anything really that's deterring me from my goals. So in this case, I experienced a little bit of laziness, a little bit of self-doubt. Am I good enough to do a podcast? Is what I'm sharing really valuable to people? Is anyone listening? Does anyone care? All these sorts of questions. And I'm just being extremely raw and authentic and bringing this upon you and sharing with you unfiltered thoughts, because I feel that that's important in life. And sometimes it just liberates you when you say things exactly as they are. So this was it. And what happened is on Friday, so every Friday I kind of, because usually what I used to do in the past is I would research the topics that I would want to talk about during the weekend and record an episode on Sunday evening so I can release it on Monday. So every Friday, this particular thing comes to my head, like what I'm going to be researching or reading on this weekend. And this Friday, because I knew that I've missed recording this podcast for such a long time, I came across this article randomly, and it was about somebody hitting a huge milestone in their business, and that milestone was 3 years of recording their podcast, which was called Conscious Business. So I thought this was such an interesting sign from the universe. This particular woman shared her milestone of 3 years, and it was sharing along with that celebratory news some tips to what have contributed to her success. And I felt like it was exactly the message I needed to hear at that moment. And it was actually the way the universe is communicating to me. So I'm gonna go on a tangent for a little bit here and talk a little bit about what that means, the universe talking to you, because it sounds, a little bit strange when somebody says that. But I do believe that there's a lot of signs out there for you. When you're in alignment with your being and you're in alignment with yourself and your purpose, and you're trying and striving to live authentically and just expressing who you are to the world every day, the universe reciprocates back and gives you different signs that are meant for guidance. I totally believe in that. If my brother was listening to this, or my sister even for that matter, they would laugh hysterically at the thought that I said that, because they're very academic. My brother's in med school, my sister's an engineer, and I was academic too. I was in finance my whole life, so very number rational oriented. But having said that, I do believe that the universe is constantly communicating to us, and that's through all sorts of different signs. When you're aware of it, it keeps happening. So it may come across as a coincidence once in a while, but if this continues happening in different areas and ways and shapes and forms, you can't help but wonder there's more to it than just coincidence. So keep on tapping into that energy. The more you realize it, the more it increases, the more clear it becomes. And that is the universe's way of affirming certain things for you. If you're not sure if you're on the right direction, ask for a particular sign and you'll be given that sign. And that is a form of guidance. I truly, truly, truly believe in that. So the fact that I was thinking of my podcast, that particular moment, out of nowhere, I received an email about somebody sharing their milestones as far as their own podcast is concerned. And that made me feel a little bit jealous that, you know what, I can do that too. I can get to that milestone as well. I already passed my 1-year milestone in May 1st. And I really want to make it to my 2nd year, 3rd year, and 10th year even, and just keep on going. As long as I'm learning, I do want to spread my message one way or another. And there's no room for laziness here. This is something I'm passionate about, and I should not let it go. So if the reason I'm sharing my own personal story here is because every time I share something that goes on in my life, it offers you the platform and the space to think about how this particular thing appears in your life. It doesn't have to be the exact same scenario, but it could be transferable into other areas that you may relate to. The idea is to have a clear, honest dialogue with yourself, identify exactly what's taking place, and move on to the better form of who you are. That's essentially what I'm trying to do here. So as I develop myself, I offer you, room for reflection to look at the things you're doing in your life and grow with me as well. So the article that I came across, as I mentioned earlier before I went to the tangent about recognizing signs from the universe, so along with a celebratory note, it went on to share certain tips along the way that contributed to that success. And these tips are really great. So I would share them with you because they apply not just on, passing a milestone in podcasting. It's really anything you want to embark on in life. The first thing is being passionate. And that's not, something you've obviously heard for the first time. It's obvious, it goes without saying, but it's also a good reminder that you have to have a vision and continue moving towards it. It's just a reminder. It's something that we all can benefit from, instilling in our lives once in a while, because you can't expect yourself to become an expert before you even started. And that was my biggest, I would say that my biggest naysayer in my head would say, I'm not an expert in anything I'm sharing. As I just mentioned to you today, not podcasting for a month is a form of a failure in a sense. So if I'm not an expert in mastering my life in every element of it, why am I sharing, tools to improve to others if I haven't personally implemented them to the T? And the idea here is that I'm not necessarily claiming to be an expert or even sharing this from an expert opinion. It's literally just sharing your journey, because the expertise will come with time. And if you focus on being passionate about what you're doing, the tools will present themselves to you as you go. So I'm more interested in the journey than the destination. And I think that sharing my lessons along the way enables me to be a better speaker, to be a better service to this world. And therefore being passionate about it is necessarily even as you're going through it. The second tip is leverage experts. So when I'm incapable of tapping into a certain topic, I interview somebody else. And I believe that's what she's talking about here. She said, talk to the experts and surround yourself with people who know more about the topic than you do, and they can offer valuable tips and insights. And I've definitely interviewed lots of people who added a lot of value to me and to the listeners, and I would like to continue to do so. And ask them lots of questions, as I will be doing when I go ahead, and I'll be sharing a project with you on the side by the end of this episode, actually. The third tip is trust your gut. So go ahead and seek feedback from those in the area that can offer solid advice. And I personally train myself daily to trust my intuition. There's days where my intuition is so on point that it even scares me how crazily intuitive I can be in certain days. So I really just need to practice that constantly, because it is a muscle that you pretty much grow. And, trust your gut, and also trust the feedback from the people around you that you personally respect. So whether that's your friends or colleagues or partner or family members, whoever, just ask those whose opinion matter in that specific field, not just general advice. The fourth tip is amazing. Start without all the answers. I think a lot of people get scared from starting a project because they don't know all the answers. But as Oprah says this: just know what the one next step is and keep going. All you need to know is know what's exactly coming next. You don't need to know what's 100 kilometers down the road. You just need to know what the next kilometer looks like. So if you wait until you have all the answers, you'll simply never start. And that's a good reminder that it's just a matter of starting and building momentum to keep on going. And the fifth thing is letting go of perfection. So forget that, perfection isn't the key here. It's not the purpose. And I struggled with this one as well, because I thought, I actually bought a microphone. I spent over $200 on this thing, and I pretty much ruined it, and I haven't used it in the past year, because now I'm using just my laptop's microphone. And I probably should buy another one soon. But I thought to myself, I'm just going to record from my heart, and I don't need to memorize every word. I actually never memorize anything I'm going to say. I simply just speak from my heart. And my voice will be better every time I practice it. So there's no point for me to sit here and worry about not being perfect, not having the perfect equipment, stumbling across some of my thoughts. And sometimes I listen to my recording after I publish them, and I'm like, holy, I could have done much better here. But it's really, like I said, the process. So let go of the perfection and aim to get, 80% or, whatever is good enough for you, because that in itself is pursuits to continue doing. So get realistic and really free yourself, liberate yourself from unrealistic expectations, because they're like a form of a prison. So that is all I had for you today, actually. Just reflections on my journey with this podcast so far, and what went through my head being away from it for a while. But I'm back on track. I'm actually getting goosebumps all over my body because of how much I love this experience. And I do believe that we need voices like this out in the world. People who simply speak unfiltered thoughts and share authenticity in any way, shape, or form it may be for them. And this is my mission. This is one of my callings. And as long as I live, I should be pursuing it one way or another. And I aim to do so. So I hope this was useful, and I do look forward to hearing your feedback. Tell me what resonated with you in this episode. Tell me what topics you'd like me to dive deeper into, and just share with me anything that comes to your mind, because I'm always very happy to hear from you. You can reach me at my Instagram, aseelbaba, ASEELBABA, or shoot me an email, my first name dot last name at gmail. So ASEEL.ELBABA@gmail.com. So until next week, guys, this is it for today. I had such a blast. Have an amazing week ahead. Take care.